Why change your brake system? The standard brakes are quite good. For standard application they are. If you need to increase the performance of the vehicle due to carrying extra loads, or especially if you're going for a GVM upgrade, we use them consistently in our armoured vehicle systems, where a greater load and a greater performance is required. Get the maximum from your braking system of the vehicle by installing DBA rotors. Whatever type of vehicle you have, if you want to improve your brake systems, DBA have the answer. High quality, high performance brake rotors designed to give you performance and enhance the safety of your vehicle. Most important is, once you've chosen what brake system suits your vehicle, is the fitting. Brakes are a major safety point on the vehicle. They must be fitted in an ideal situation where step-by-step procedures are followed, otherwise problems like vibration, brake shudder, and right down to poor performance can come from incorrect fitting. So to take you through the ideal fitting procedures, what we'll do, we'll go over to Brendan and he'll go through step by step so that you avoid having the problems you so often hear about.
Today we'll be fitting a DBA T3 4-wheel drive survival series rotor to our Land Cruiser 200 series. These rotors are used in recreational applications, with GVM upgrades and on armoured vehicles. When installing new disc pads and rotors to a motor vehicle, it is important that a couple of checks are done on the vehicle beforehand. These include test driving the vehicle, checking for movement in the front end, and correct preparation of the disc rotor itself and the original hub surfaces. Sometimes when removing the wheel off the vehicle, it can feel a little bit stuck due to a rust scale build up on the hub. This surface will have to be cleaned and prepped when the new rotor assembly goes on. The first procedure in removing the old disc rotor is to undo the brake lines and associated ABS lines and the caliper itself. Most modern calipers are held on by 2 bolts at the rear of the caliper. The caliper has to be removed and hung up out of the way to avoid damage. It is crucial that the caliper is hung up on either the suspension components or a steel bracket and not the brake lines. Hanging on the brake lines will cause major damage to the brake lines themselves. After the disc caliper is moved out of the way, we then go to removing the disc rotor itself. It's a good idea to spray around the hub with WD-40 to loosen off the rotor. It's also a good idea to have a couple of wheel nuts screwed on loosely. In case the rotor is jammed, it won't come flying back here when it finally releases. When removing the rotor, make sure you have it supported well and it comes off evenly. When putting any rotor down, always put it with the hub face down and never the disc face down. As you can see, once the disc rotor has been removed, there is actually quite a bit of a rust build up around the mounting plate and the hub surface itself. This area has to be cleaned meticulously before any rotor is fitted to the vehicle. We will also have to check the hub run out, but it's a good idea to clean the surface first so you get a good readout. Just use embry paper or wet stone to clean the hub, and you can also use a WD-40 type material to provide lubrication for the cleaning. It is important to clean the whole surface, including the mounting plate itself. When you can start to see the original machining on the hub, this is a good indication that it is clean enough. Ensure that you do get around all the studs though, and that no rough scale is left on the hub surface. As you can see, the whole hub is now clean, so we can accurately check for hub runout. To do this, mount the dial gauge on one of the metal chassis or suspension components on the vehicle so that the dial gauge is in a good position on the hub surface. It's important to check for runout in the hub, as excessive runout on the hub surface will make excessive runout at the end of the disc. Excessive runout at the end of the disc, especially on a large rotor like this one on the 200 series, will quickly cause variable disc thickness and reduce the life of the rotor. Now that the hub has been properly prepared, we can now move on to fitting the rotor. But before the rotor is fitted, it is important that we clean it. Even though this is a brand new rotor, it is imperative that the pad surface and the hub mounting surface is clean. This is to remove the rust protection material and any machining dust. It is important that the painted areas on the rotor do not come in contact with the cleaner, as the cleaner will strip the paint away from that part. When cleaning the brake rotor, always wear safety goggles and use a good quality brake cleaner. It is also a good practice to spray the cleaner onto the rag and not the rotor itself. As you can see, even though it is a new rotor, there is a lot of machining and protective residue on the brake surface. It is important to never lay a rotor face down on a machine surface, as this can scratch the machine surface. At this stage of the demonstration, Ian White, our technical advisor, will talk you through the rest of the installation.
Okay, now we can fit the new DBA rotor carefully up to the hub of the 200 series we're working on. Just make sure it's located correctly on the hub. Now the reason we put these wheel nuts on in a triangular fashion is to keep the hub and the rotor centralised so we can do a dial gauge check. It's very important that we make sure this is all nice and neat, because it can cause different readings. Just got to recheck with the new DBA brake rotor that's fitted on that it's not exceeding any runouts within manufacturer's specification. I'll now show you how to reassemble a caliper, and as we said before, always make sure the brake calipers are hung with a hook so it's not straining the hose. Okay, just sit that up there nice like so. Just carefully with a pair of designated brake hose clamps, clamp the line off. Now we're going to undo the bleed nipple and obviously push the fluid into approved dirty brake fluid container. Just crack the bleed nipple just carefully. Now we're going to push the pistons in the brake caliper back. Okay, just nice and gently. Okay, there's push back. The main thing is just to push it back nice and slowly. Alright, now that they're pushed back, just return the brake nipple back to the closed position. Just yank the hose. Just taking the hose clamp off. These are a designated brake hose clamp. Don't go using long nose pliers or vice grips. Do a lot of damage to the brake hose. Just carefully make sure everything's nice and free. The brake hose isn't kinked. Just taking our time, make sure we don't damage anything. Get our caliper mounting bolts. Just like anything, just bolt them back in nice and neat and even. Just nip tight. Tensioning them up now, which we've already checked the specifications. Now we're just putting all the bracketry and that back on. Okay, just double check. All good with that. So to show you how to change the pads over now. So just take all your retaining clips out. Now these are what they call a sliding pin rotor. Just make sure the slide pins and everything are nice and clean. Alright, there's no broken bits or they all look good, so I'm happy with those. Just carefully slide the old pads out. Just like to check where the brake pads run, that the areas are nice and clean, so the pads are free to run on.
So the pads which we are running on our Land Cruiser today are the Rotor DS Performance pads. These are a high quality, high performance pad made over in Italy and are perfectly suited for this vehicle, which is carrying heavy loads at fast speeds and requires race performance for street use.
Alright, so I'll just show you to fit the new ones up. So just check, we know that these are for the front. On this particular model there's no in or outer brake pad, they're interchangeable. Just got to check things like that before you put them up. Alright, light down on the backing plate. Now pulling the original backing plate or anti-rattle plate off the back of the pad that we've just pulled out. Again, just check condition. Make sure it's all nice and clean. Alright, I'm happy with that. Now I'll fit that up. Just take your time, just make sure they slide down nice and neat. The backing plate doesn't push back up. Right, happy with that. Then get our two slide pins. Get them through nice and neat. Okay, now they're in that far. Let's pull out the other side. Pull it out. Now I've got the outside pad in, we put the inboard pad in. Again, just make sure everything's nice and clean. Right, there's nothing bent or distorted. Another one of our quality Rotor pads out. As I said before, there's no inner and outer on this particular model, but it always should check the application. Slide our pad in. Carefully push our retainers across. Put our lower retainer spring on. Just make sure that these put it back on the correct way. Just putting our external retainer clip on. Okay, now after fitting everything up, it's also good just to give the rotor and the hub a spin up, make sure nothing's fouling. Okay, it's better to find out now for anything gets damaged. It's also very, very important that the mating surface of the inside of the rim is nice and clean, no rust or build up. To make sure all the wheel nuts are done at the correct tension, there are tension wrenches available, but most mechanical workshops use what they call a torque stick. Look up the settings from different manufacturers, and we found out that this is the correct setting for this. Make sure we've got our safety glasses on. Still them up nice and slow. Still them up in a cross pattern. Okay, and that's done. Now, very important other thing, after mount the wheel back up, as I said, just gives a spin, make sure nothing's scraping. Another very important part of the job is to make sure that the brake pedal is slowly pumped back up to expand the pistons out so the pads meet the rotors. Alright, just nice and gently. That'll bring the pads back in the contact area with the rotors. Double check the master cylinder fluid. Important to wipe all the top to make sure there's no rubbish going in. Alright, check the level, and that's a good level at the moment.
So now that the new pads and rotors are fitted to the vehicle, we just need to bed the pads in and advise the customer to be gentle on the brakes for the first couple of thousand kilometres and retighten all the wheel nuts at about 500 kilometres.
Now that you've seen the ideal fitting procedures, you may ask why DBA. DBA is Australian owned, Australian manufactured, and it has a worldwide recognition for the highest quality and performance for an aftermarket product. Some of the important features that have made DBA #1 international is the casting, the quality of the casting, and it's all made here in Australia. Features include DBA Special High Carbon XG150 cast iron with the exclusive patented design of the kangaroo paw. It reduces the heat, and ventilation system that increases the performance of the rotor and is ideal for heavy duty application and provides longer life and service of the rotor. TSP, thermal stability profiling, prolongs the service life of the rotor and minimises warping and cracking. Paint protection on the non-friction areas, designed to protect and enhance the rotor appearance and avoid corrosion. Thermal graphic paint markings. These markings allow the driver to monitor the rotor's temperature and monitor the rotor's fatigue in adverse driving conditions. The T3, the 48 CNC machined precision slots. These slotted curves dampen the vibration and the harmonics, reducing noise, quieter and more responsive with a smoother brake pedal. The 48 precision CNC machine slots increase consistency and effectiveness, as well as eliminating the need for left and right disc. You've now seen the ideal fitting procedures, and you now know which is the best aftermarket rotor on the market. Brakes are not something to be monkeyed around with, so if you don't have the experience, don't attempt to fit them. Take them to an authorised brake centre and have professionals fit your professional brake system, DBA. You can always call the Ultimate Suspension, we can look after you, or go to the DBA website and find out where your local distributor is. But with brakes, it's important, safety first, DBA first.